It is Valentine's Day. We're going to talk about Saint Valentine. We're going to talk about love. But Adam, I'll let you begin and I'll jump in because this is a topic that I have a lot to say about. And unfortunately, we don't have a lot of time to do it. So you go first.
Okay. So in this first segment, I wanted to talk about the word love. And I want to do it through what has been for me, Deb, just from myself, one of the coolest things I ever learned about Scripture, from something cool in the Bible that I never remotely understood. And when I did, I was like, oh, that is so neat. But it's also so sad. Okay. Now, the word love in English, we all know that word, very common word, very general word, right? It's used in a lot of different contexts. It can describe very different types of relationships and feelings, but there's just one word. Well, there's a bunch of Greek words for love that are rendered, all of them ended up being rendered into the word love if you move into the English. But from the Greek perspective, they're different words for different things. So as opposed to thinking of it like, oh, well, those are just different words for love. No, those are different words for different things entirely. And our word love is basically an overly simplistic word that's capturing too much. So let me explain. Check out how many words for love there are in Greek. And I don't think this is a complete list. Agape is selfless, unconditional love, usually extended to everybody. So that's a godlike love, right? Agape. Philos is a deep friendship. It means support, equality, and affection in a relationship. So deep friendship. Storge is family love or an instinctive affection, kind of like parents have for their children, right? It's instinct, it's built in, it's family. Eros, passionate love, romance, sometimes lust. Ludus is playful love. Pragma is long-standing love. Philautia is love of the self, and they break that down into either healthy or unhealthy, right? So you can have healthy self-esteem, and then you can have like a narcissist who it's unhealthy. And then mania, a word a lot of us have heard, is actually in Greek is obsessive love. So wow, okay. So in the ancient world, there was a much wider vocabulary for love. Now let's get to that cool thing for me with Scripture. A lot of us have heard that dialogue that Jesus has with Peter where he says, do you love me? And he says, yes, yeah, I love you. Do you love me? Yeah, I love you. Do you love me? Why do you keep asking me that? Yeah, I love you, right? Well, and we're going to read the exact words. I'm paraphrasing and, trying to express how I used to hear it. It didn't make any sense. It's kind of like, what is this, a translation issue? Did they write the paragraph 3 times? Like, why does he just repeat the same thing? Okay, so this is in John 21:15-17, where you can find this. When we read it in the English, it's basically, do you love me? Yes, Lord, you know that I love you. Do you love me? Yes, Lord, you know that I love you. Do you love me? And then he says, Lord, you know everything, you know that I love you. Okay, well, in English, it's like, okay, I guess, like, I don't really get it, but okay, he's asking him 3 times, and maybe that's related to the 3 times Peter denied him after the Last Supper, when Jesus said, you're going to deny me 3 times. And maybe this is the 3 times that he's reaffirming his love for him. But here's the thing, Deb, and I know a lot of people know this, but a lot of people don't. So I want to give you the cool experience I had when this was first kind of explained to me. Let's read it with the proper words from the Greek inserted. Now remember, agape is godlike love. It's unconditional. It's selfless. It sometimes has a sacrificial nature, like I would die for you. So agape is godlike. Philos is friendship. I support you. I have affection for you. I like you. We're really good friends. Philos means we're really good friends. Okay. So let's read it with those words inserted, and now it's going to take on a whole new life. And I know I'm taking time for this, but it's related to how the Bible
I think
talks
it's
about
excellent.
love.
Right. And I want our Morning Joy listeners to just travel with us on this. Keep going.
Okay. When they had finished breakfast, Jesus said to Simon Peter, "Simon, son of John, do you agape me more than these?" He said to him, "Yes, Lord, you know that I philos you." He said to him, "Feed my lambs." He then said to him a second time, "Simon, son of John, do you agape me?" He said to him, "Yes, Lord, you know that I philos you." He said to him, "Tend my sheep." He said to him the third time, "Simon, son of John, do you philos me?" Peter was distressed that he had said to him a third time, "Do you love me?" And he said to him, "Lord, you know everything. You know that I philos you." Jesus said to him, "Feed my sheep." So what's going on here? Peter's denied him 3 times. Their relationship had a rift in it. Jesus has come back. He asked him, "Do you love me?" in a selfless, self-sacrificing, complete, unconditional way. And Peter says essentially, "No, Lord, I like you a lot, but I'm not going to die for you. I'm not going to give you unconditional everything. I can't. I like you. We're friends." So Jesus asks him again, "Do you love me, agape? Do you love me how I love you?" is the implication. And he says to him, "Yes, Lord, you know that I think you're a good friend." And you can imagine maybe the sadness on Jesus' face as he hears this. And then the third time, Jesus meets him where he is. Instead of asking him to get to that place of that godlike, selfless, complete love, he says, "Simon, son of John, do you love me as a friend?" And he says, "Lord, you know everything. You know that I love you as a friend." So Jesus steps it down a notch for him because he sees that he can't get there. He asked him twice and he can't get there. Peter's being honest. For some reason, he can't get there right at that moment. So Jesus steps down and says, "I'll accept the amount of love that you can get to between us, that you can find in your heart, that you can understand. I'll accept as much as you can give me. Even though I've given you everything, I've died for you, and I would die for you again. I will take friendship from you." And what is he saying at the end of each one of these, Deb? Feed my lambs, tend my sheep, feed my sheep. He's reasserting the role that he gave to Peter as leading his church. So in the end, he says, even though you only treat me as a friend, I still give you the role of heading my church that I established through my blood, through my sacrifice for you. I'll meet you where you are and accept less love than I wish I had from you. Less love than I give you, but I'll still work with you.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the encouraging part of this for us, because we're often Peter. We often don't have that level of love that he wishes we had for him.
Right, right. Well, I mean, we want to, but it's so far beyond what we can imagine and what we can understand of agape love, right? And so it feels so it's so huge for us. So maybe with Peter, he had, and he expressed it well. He had this friendship, deep friendship love for Jesus, but he really was maybe worried about what Jesus was going to expect of him, right? And so, but yet he gives him the directive to go out there and take care of his sheep. So with that, he entrusted Peter with that beautiful task to care for the little ones, and that's us, and that's a beautiful thing. So I mean, there's so much to learn and unpack from this, but I mean, when you think of agape, I mean, even just when as you were reading it, and I was just even trying to go deeper into the whole agape sacrificial love. I mean, it's mind blowing, Adam.
Hmm. And I wonder if part of this was, Jesus had told them, "You're going to have to take up your cross and follow me."
Exactly.
He had essentially told them, like, this is not going to be easy for you.
Right. You're going to be martyred. Yeah.
And then, they had seen crucifixions. This was a common thing the Romans did all the time. There was always groups of people being crucified. So Peter knew full well exactly what Jesus went through. And maybe he was thinking, I'm not sure I'm willing to go there.
Exactly. That's right. That's what I'm saying. It's so big. I mean, it's like, wow, you want me to really die and suffer and die. And that's tough. That's tough to put somebody on the spot like that. I mean, yeah. But I mean, Peter did dig as deep as he possibly could go. Right. And I love the way Jesus, like you said, Jesus met him right there, which was beautiful. Okay. It is St. Valentine's Day today. And we hope that you, if you get to have a beautiful dinner or something of that nature to celebrate, it's a wonderful day to celebrate love, Adam. And you're going to talk about St. Valentine.
Yeah. So I don't even know if not everybody. I think a lot of people don't even know that there's a Saint Valentine. We know Valentine's Day, and maybe we think that that's somebody's name, but a lot of us don't know the story. So here's the thing about Saint Valentine. He's one of these saints, like a lot of the early Roman saints, that we just don't know a ton about.
And there's a lot of legend around it. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. So we're pretty sure he was born in 226 AD in Italy. It might have been northern Italy, it might have been southern, it might have been in Rome. But 226, okay, so the church is only 2 centuries old. He may have been a priest. He may have been a medical doctor. He may have been both. We're not sure. But one of the things we are sure of, because it's Roman history, is that in his time, marriage was outlawed. Well, why were the Romans outlawing marriage in the empire? Well, the emperor at the time really loved war. And, the empire was under attack at various times from the barbarians, which was basically the people out of Germania. They were dealing with other problems, and the emperor wanted armies. He wanted lots and lots and lots of men in the army. So he thought that when a man was married, it made him a weaker soldier. Maybe he was pining for his wife. Maybe he was distracted with letters and concerns about his family. This emperor just thought it made them weaker, and he wanted his soldiers only focused on war and fighting and dying for the empire, not dividing their attention between that and a family. So he outlawed marriage. Now we have to remember that in our modern world, I think to a large extent, like we kind of see, there's couples and there's a lot of married couples, but that's basically more or less still the idea of what your normal journey in life is, right? Is to be married or be living with somebody that stably, and maybe you have kids with them. But in ancient Rome, there was a lot of other stuff going on. So marriage, the idea of lifelong marriage, really wasn't a Roman thing. In fact, there was a lot of really kind of what we would consider kind of perverse things going on in Rome in terms of sexuality. So the idea of marriage really was, in terms of a stable lifelong commitment, was something the church was trying to offer to the Roman Empire. And the Romans were more about decadence. So they didn't see this as a great thing. They saw what they were doing as a good thing, and that this would kind of take away from the decadence and perhaps distract the soldiers. Okay, so that's the historic context. So we think he was doing secret marriages, underground marriages, because these men were getting conscripted into the army to go and fight and die. And if they were married, they were ineligible to enter and become soldiers. So it kind of served two purposes for these men. They were able to marry the women that they wanted to marry, and commit to for the rest of their lives, but it also made them ineligible for the army, and some would see that as a good thing. So, well, guess what? The emperor finds out about this, and as we can imagine, he's not very happy, right? Underground marriages, taking away a few soldiers, promoting this idea that kind of goes against Roman tradition. So they lock him up. Okay, so Valentine's locked up. And his jailer, who, is taking care of him, like the guard, but was running the jail for the Romans, kind of makes fun of him. He's a pagan, and he mocks him for his religion and, doing these secret marriages and all of that. And Valentine's preaching to him. And he's like, no, this is God. This is really it. This is the true God. All that other stuff you're doing is paganism, it's demons, it's false, it's hollow. And so the guy challenges him, and he says, well, if you're so great and your God's so real, why don't you heal this young lady of her blindness? And so Valentine gently puts his hands on her eyes and prays, and her sight's restored right in front of the man. And we think that was his daughter. Well, of course, he's blown away. And he says, what do I need to do? And Valentine says, smash all the idols in your house, all the pagan stuff, commit to God, and, give your life to God. You've seen the truth. So he lets him out of jail. The jailer does. He lets him out. He's not supposed to, right? He breaks the rules, lets him out, lets some of the other Christians out, we think. Well, now the emperor's really not happy. So they both get thrown in jail. And on February 14th, today, but in the year 269, Saint Valentine, was decapitated. They killed him. So the story that led to St. Valentine's Day partly was related to this. On the day that he was going to be executed, he wrote a letter of encouragement to the young lady whose sight he had restored through prayer, that God had restored through the intercession, through his prayer. He wrote an encouraging letter to her. And at the end of the letter, he said, from your Valentine, meaning himself.
Himself. Mm-hmm.
And so we think this is where the idea of the Valentine's Day cards originally came from.
Wow. Wow, that's precious. I love your storytelling, Adam. It's wonderful on this St. Valentine's Day. Now, I just want to remind our listeners, if you want to tune in tomorrow, 10 a.m. Central, 11 a.m. Eastern, to the Spirit World, we're going to be talking about the many facets of love, and we're going to go even deeper into this idea of the expressions of love and what it means for us as Catholic Christians. That's very, very important, because Adam stated it earlier, and I agree with him, that it's oftentimes misunderstood word. It's used too loosely. It's used to cover so many things, and that's not really how we can tap in to go deeper in order to get closer to God. So we're gonna cover that tomorrow on the Spirit World, but we did the best we could today on the St. Valentine's Day. And so, Adam, have a beautiful rest of your day, and I will, God willing, I will see you tomorrow. And we're going to send it back for the rest of Morning Joy, and we hope that our listeners are getting a lot out of these segments. And if you are, please share them with your friends, and also comment on the chats. We love to, Tim, our producer, loves to pick up the comments and the feedback, because we're always trying to shape the next right things so that they're practical step-by-steps approach, these incremental approaches to get closer to God, right, Adam? To those steps. You always say measurable steps. Take them, baby step it, so we get closer each time we meet on Morning Joy. Final words on that.
Oh, just that, Deb. We've been doing this for a few years, and as we come around to the topics each year, try to go a little bit deeper, approach it from a different angle. In your spiritual journey, do the same thing. Mm-hmm. Each season of your life, re-explore the Word of God, re-explore all of these themes and ideas, because you're going to experience them differently, and it's going to help you to go deeper. I know it's helped me, and I've really appreciated the journey with you.
I love this too. And in this year, Jubilee Year of Hope, we are pilgrims on a journey, and that's what we're trying to do here on Morning Joy. So let's catch the rest of the show.
Thank you for listening to The Next Right Thing with angel specialist Debbie Georgianni and religious demonologist Adam Bly. Debbie and Adam are daily contributors to the live radio program Morning Joy, hosted by Keith Downey every weekday on the Guadalupe Radio Network. For more authentic Catholic content, go to grnonline.com/joy.